This morning, sun kissed my face. Grab my coffee, life's a fast-paced race. I know. I put on my shoes, but no stops or waste. Headed out the door, no stress, no stress. I'm feeling good now. For my groove is sick, a brand new day just left again. Easy Monday motivation. Time to slow it down. We keep moving to the sound. Easy Monday motivation. Feeling the rhythm. It's deep in my soul. Fantastic energy got me in control. Oh, hear the beat drop. You know we won't stop. Trust the process. Climb me to the top. The top. In the air, so I need some more. Each step forward. Easy Monday motivation. Feels good. Feels hard to slow it down. We keep moving to the sound. Easy Monday motivation. Let's break it down. Turn life around. With every step we take, we touch new ground. Positive, my vibe, that's all right. Drawn by, feel deep, line. Easy Monday motivation. We are all about you. So feels good, it feels good. No time to slow it down. We keep moving to the sound. Easy Monday motivation.
Easy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Easy Monday Motivation. It is your guy, E, welcoming you to season 3 with my guy, CT, and Johnny, my liege. And you know that we're so happy to be here with you because, man, like last week, we got to kick off season 3 with an interview of the man in the chair, Cam. Here we are now. Our first real full episode of us getting back into the swing of things. Guys, I missed y'all, man. Did y'all miss this with the time down? I get a little weepy-eyed thinking about it? Yeah, you did.
Y'all my peeps.
Yeah. We had a little off season get together. That was really nice. That was really fun. We're gonna have to do that more often, guys. Happy hours and all the hours and all the flowers and all of it.
I laughed so much. Like when I got home, I was still like bouncing around and laughing. It was just like, calm down. I was like, but I'm still going. So fun.
I missed curfew and everything. I was like, y'all kept me out longer than I needed to be. You know what I'm saying? It was like 9:30. Like y'all kept me out way late. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, hey, you come to the Scotch with E location, you have a Scotch with E experience, and lo and behold.
I'll say this: when the bat signal went out, okay, I was like, oh, absolutely. When, what time? I'm there. Let's do it because I know it's always going to be such a fun time over at E. So we got to do a lot more. I know we got to have an end of season pool party we talked about as well. So CT, we need to coordinate that too. It's been great to take a little bit of time off, but then also to be able to take some time to kind of strategize what we were going to do this season. And with this season, we wanted to be really intentional, right? And we were posed the question of like, when we think of Easy Monday Motivation, like what is that? Right? Like, what is Easy Monday Motivation? And we just have one answer for you. It's us. We show up on Monday to provide motivation because we are motivation. Like we motivate each other in our interactions here, as well as in our personal lives. We also are the seeds. We also plant seeds in people to motivate them to move forward as well. So like, the question of what is Easy Monday Motivation is just it's us. It's and Yoda.
And Yoda. Thank you.
He's wise. He provides motivation.
He is wise and he is green, so I will accept it. That's acceptable by definition. But with that, we said we were going to stay thematic this season, and our first theme is generational conversations. That's what we're going to hold all year for the rest of the year. Generational conversations, but the topic of this month is education, right?
Yes.
Education throughout generations. So today's episode, we're going to take some time to kind of peel back our experiences with education. And we're gonna go back in time and look in, because we want to go back in the days when I was young.
I'm not a kid
anymore. But
Eric, may I pause you for a moment? And
may.
I do need to apologize because we have not yet introduced one element of CT that this season is supposed to introduce. And so while you might feel like the last, say, 30 to 45 seconds of Eric's introduction, while he was being responsible in sharing the context of our discussion, there were these moments where there was a distraction that was introduced into his narrative. We're going to call those moments of mayhem through this season. So it's possible that while we are in the midst of even a potentially serious moment, there could be introduced into the ecosystem what might be referred to as a mayhem moment. So I wanted to make sure that there was context for why that was happening. I promise to be responsible this season, to be as much CT as I possibly can, to manifest the chocolate drop as much as I can, and as if we give an opportunity, that mayhem will be entering into the room. Eric, we pass it back to you. Station identification, back to you.
All right, thank you, mayhem. Thank you for adding the mayhem to the podcast when we already had chaos. So now we have chaos and mayhem in our podcast. So just so y'all know, Cam, mayhem be taken off screen whenever I do this. Okay.
Oh no! Mayhem moment. He gotta go.
We can bring it back. Just so this is how we control mayhem and chaos. They kick us out whenever we act out of place. So just know we got a lot of fun this season because we're gonna mix it up. We're gonna mix it up. But we haven't even checked in. But let me come in and see how you guys are doing. It's been so long. Johnny, my liege, how do you be? What's going on? How you feeling?
You know what? I am feeling really good. I know I shared with you all during the last episode that this season was like a soft summer for me, right? Like I was like, y'all, we chilling because the school year was so crazy. We're chilling. And so I'm still in that season right now. I'm still just chilling and relaxing, enjoying our patio, waiting for y'all to come over. So the invite is out. I'm going to set a date and I'm going to put it in the chat, so I don't have to hear any junk from my brothers anymore, okay? So we can get this going. But yeah, so I'm feeling really, really good, y'all. Feeling good.
That's good. That's good. Johnny, I just let you know that that invite was just the cherry on top we were waiting for. So TT, I'm gonna come to you and ask.
When people say things about you and you don't have anything else to say.
TT, with you. How have you been?
Oh man, I'm reminded of the song where it said, "Oh, way too long, missing you so much. I'm coming home." And now we're back home on the pod. Look, last week when we were introduced to Cam, the man with the plan behind the scenes, like sometimes like these let me say it different. I'm so grateful for Cam. I was trying to be serious. Like I was trying to like say it without laughing. Like, no, I'm so grateful for Cam and all that he does for us. And
I was waiting for something to happen.
Like, why is he still laughing?
I was waiting for something to happen because I thought Cam was gonna throw something in there. I just thought
about to say, like, Cam, you know what? Cam, pull it up because he's about to do it. Pull it up. You already know what it is. You already starting stuff. Jumper cables always starting stuff. This is mayhem this season.
This is his thing.
I promise. I promise to be a bit more unhinged this season. If you
Thank
didn't
you.
get it last season.
Thank you.
Oh, listen, like I'm great. The Olympics, have started. This is a fantastic time. I am a fan of all things the Olympics, and it's kicking off.
CT?
Why?
Yeah, tell me why.
I love competition. I love sports.
Mhm.
I was talking to my wife about the idea that in the midst of all the chaos that is happening in our society, and not using chaos in the wrong word, in the wrong context, excuse me, it actually feels like a uniting
I
thing.
agree. I
And
agree.
so
Yeah.
as I'm watching people come together, as I'm watching us talk about like our connection, whether it is, again, I was sitting watching archery, like ping pong, basketball. I was watching surfing, and I was in awe of how skilled they were at getting into that wave. And I was just like, nah, I'd have drowned. Right. This like the things that people can do are just amazing to me. And so feeling good, doing well, really, 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 really excited that this is a moment where I get to have my people back with me, where we're like back into like the consistency of being in each other's space. I'm better, I'm smarter, because I am with my people in the EMM space. So let's cook, let's do our thing, let's go.
All right. Well, guys, I'm doing all right. I'm doing good. My personal life is rocking and rolling. I got a lot of stuff going on later on this month. I get to go and hang out with my son on some fun stuff, which you guys check out. Why did you lean in, Johnny? Stop.
He's
otherwise.
Did you feel it? Did you feel it?
I said things is
I want to know more.
I don't know why. Well, okay. I mean, if you guys want to know, it is that time of year where the cherry blossoms bloom in DC, and it's a beautiful place.
No. We can talk about me.
No, it's not. I love the cherries. It's awesome. No, it's awesome. I love the cherries. I think they're awesome. I can refer to them. I mean, under the cherry moon, it's okay.
Didn't see it coming.
No, but no. I mean, I've been good. The fish family are good. My fish babies is all right. My tree son is on the mend. He's budding anew, so I'm very happy that everything is going on. And I got to go see that Wolverine and Deadpool movie. OMG.
Yes. Okay.
That's all I gotta say. The goriest story on Disney ever, but like comical. It's amazing. I've never seen somebody use a skeleton in that manner. So it's just a lot of great things that happen in that movie. So yeah, I mean, if I'm a movie guy, and that was one of the ones that I was most excited for. I was like E1 front. I had like the perfect seats. I had already prepaid for the popcorn and everything, and like it was perfect. It's amazing. I watched it in 3D. It was wonderful to watch Headpool fly around. So I've been good. I'm in my space. I'm in my bag right now. Whenever we're in Q3, it's me. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel real good in Q3. So it's that time.
Movies all summer, to the actual movie theater all summer.
Johnny, that's not like you, because we
No,
are
it's
movie
not.
goers.
Yeah, and I'll go by myself or whatever, but I haven't gone all summer.
You ain't seen Twisters yet? I mean, Twisters is off the chain too.
Nope.
Did you see Inside Out too?
Yes.
I take that. You know what? I take that back. We did see that, but was that summer? When was it released?
It was summer.
At the beginning of summer? Okay. So maybe I'll redeem myself. You're right. Inside Out 2.
Yeah. Inside Out 2 is a really good movie. Oh man, like it's one of the movies that you just need to watch as an adult and make sure your kids watch, because you may be seeing yourself go like, oh my God, that's me. I act that way right now, and I'm 50. And now I'm wondering why you act like that. Oh my God, this is it, because your anxiety is in control. Okay.
Yo, it answers so many questions. I'm telling you.
That's an episode.
Yes, man. Hey, we might have to do a movie review just because of that one, right? Well, once we can lift that embargo, make sure we don't get kicked off of the stuff. But needless to say, everything is doing good. So today I wanted to make sure that we got to touch on a topic. Today's topic is take me back, school days, right? And when we think about what it was like for us in school compared to what it's like today, right? I don't want to go too far into today because that's what part 2 is for, where we'll have an actual educator on to kind of give us some perspective. I want to talk about our journeys, right? What was little CT, little Johnny, little E's experience when we went to school? And do we feel that our kids are having a similar or same experience due to the changes in the way education is actually presented? There are a lot of things that have been scaled out of school since we've been in school. And there's a lot of things that have been added to school since we, haven't attended. I mean, we didn't, some of us started off without computers. Like in elementary school, there was like 2 computers in the whole class and you had to wait, and like there was a floppy disk. Like y'all remember floppy disk and A drives, and like we had those things. And these kids have iPads and things that can do 10 times or probably 1,000 times what our old computers used to do. Our computers used to be big and heavy and bulky, and like your desk, like you couldn't even move your desk as a kid because all the equipment and stuff they would put on it with the weight of your books and everything would be like you. That's the reason I was big when I was a kid. I used to push my books around and stuff. It made you strong because we had like a 80-pound book bag and a 300-pound computer monitor, and that was your equipment. That's literally what we had, man. So I kind of want to talk about those things and those experiences. So CT, I want to come to you first and say, do you recall when you were a kid what it was like in school and some of the experiences you had in your education compared to what that your kids went through? Can you call out some of the nuanced differences of what your experience was like?
How much time do we have? Like the experience our children have versus what I had. Now listen, I want to be responsible. And the responsible part of it is I grew up in a home with 2 parents. We were in the suburbs, and the educational experience that we had wasn't limiting. So when I think about the opportunities that were afforded us, I could try things. Like I was literally in everything. If it was choir, if it was in band, if it was playing a sport, if it was playing in, I mean, you name it, I did it. And that was really the richness of my educational experience from elementary all the way up through high school. I mean, I played football, I ran track, I played baseball. Again, you name it, I did it. I had in high school, the Columbus Dispatch did an article on me because I was in my senior year, a star football player, and I played in the band. And no, I didn't play at halftime, but during the season, like when you had the 4th of July parades and stuff, I would play my trumpet while doing that. Like I literally did everything. And I think for me, when I think about the experiences that I had, it was really a blessing. Some of it was the God-given gifts that I had been given, but it was also access to opportunities and access to whether it was in elementary school, the kind of teachers that were like, hey, I recognize something in you and I'm going to put you in a place to do it. But it had mostly to do with, watch, this is the trick, right? It had to do with my abilities, not necessarily how I was doing in the classroom. In the classroom. Sorry, I went to so I was not always the best student, but I acknowledge that some of my not best student had to do with some of the disability that I did not know I had. And the pivot that this is the like true story. My oldest son, when he was in elementary school, we recognized that there was some learning challenge that he had. And because now they have resources to be able to acknowledge and recognize and diagnose, he was able to get an IEP. This is a true story, y'all. We were sitting in a meeting and he had gotten some testing and they had recognized there were some things that he needed some support and help with. And if you could ask Mel, I was sitting and I was listening to them talk about where he struggled. And your boy got emotional because
Oh,
all of the things that he was experiencing, I was experiencing. But back
yeah.
when I was growing up, it was, listen, why aren't you reading right? Or why are you getting this mixed up? Or why are you taking so long to do this thing? And so I had to learn how to push through, to learn in my own way how to maneuver beyond and the past and around all of the stuff. Because there was, at the time I was growing up, there was nobody talking about this is dyslexia, or this is a
Yeah.
learning disability, or this is a thing that you needed some help or support with. And so what I'm grateful for is that by God's grace I got through it. And by God's grace that there was something that allowed our oldest son to be able to have some resources to help him to excel in his educational experience. And so for me, like, there were lots of different learnings and experiences and things that we did, but I would tell you I had access. And it became deeply important for Melanie and I to make sure that our children had access that we didn't have. I'll add this last point, and we'll talk through this as we go through a little bit of the conversation. Melanie, she was a teacher for a long time, and Melanie was in the community. So when she finished her college degree, she was like, I'm going back into the place to give back to the community. And what we found is that because of the access of our lives, our children had things that when she went into the system that she went into and the schools that she went into, those students did not have. So when I
Mm.
tell you we were real time, we got to see what equity looked like. In one space, you had smart boards. In another space, you were still dealing with white chalk. And in one space, it wasn't that you needed pens and pencils because you had iPads. In another space, Melanie had to provide pens or pencils or writing and pads for the students that were in her classroom. There was such a disparity that we got a chance to see. And the real lesson in learning was, for our children, they had access. For the children she were teaching, they did not. And so
Yeah.
that learning gap in terms of what we got a chance to see really did help to amplify how we lived, how we moved, and how our children then had an appreciation for two things having to be true: that some people had access and some people didn't. But in my growing up, I had access. So
Yeah, and that's a very good call out to say that because of the circumstances of your upbringing, you had access to things that allowed for you to
yeah,
be able to to go
Mhm.
experience different things and grow
yeah,
in your perspective of yourself in the world, right? And then to really kind of hone in on that part that you're calling out, like Mel going into the education system, right, and saying, I have these kids who are in school and I'm watching their experience. And I am also an educator who is responsible for the experience of young people as well. And if we're educating the same age groups, but because of the tools and access that they have on this end, you can project that these students are going to be way more successful because they're with it. The technology is propelling them versus we're still inundated with the old school mindset of the teacher must provide every aspect on this side versus the system provides all of the things on this side. That is a very big difference, of course. Oh man, that's powerful. Johnny, I want to come to you
Yeah.
about your experience. Like for you, you went to school and I'm not gonna call it a smaller city, but you went
Yeah.
to you were in a smaller school district, right?
Yeah.
Where you're probably more of the central school district in the area that you grew up. So the best of the best had to be coming to you guys. But did you see a disparaging difference in what was available in your education from your experience growing up to what your kids actually got access to?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, first, before I get into my experience, that's such a great question, E. I was just, as I was listening to CT's story, I was just thinking that perhaps it may have almost been a blessing, especially the time that you were coming up, CT, that we weren't able to diagnose or identify what your learning challenges or disability was at that time. Because think about it, what resources were even available?
Right.
You know, like I think about when I was in school, there were people with, and I'm really careful with my words here or whatever, because I don't know these terms to be true for these individuals. But like there were people who may have been, who we would classify as maybe having ADHD in the same classroom with someone who had physical disabilities, who then because of their physical disabilities, it causes challenges in their mental and learning capabilities, right? All in the same class in the basement, right? And this was like in the 90s. So, and it's like, something is not right here. That's not even the same challenge. So how can an educator even address the needs of that student if they're completely different? So listening to you and just thinking about how you turned out, man, what a blessing and what an inspiration to other people who have probably experienced that same thing. But as far as my education, absolutely, I see a difference between what my kids. First, let's just get the whole conversation out about technology. I can't say there wasn't any technology because that doesn't make sense. But I mean, you were talking about a computer. In high school, I was taking a typing class.
Yes.
Writer. Like, that's just the huge difference. And my kids were like, a typewriter? What? I mean, they were doing homework, you know, during the year. And Terry was like, well, just hit save. And my oldest was like, save? What are you talking about? Save is Google Docs, Dad. Like, it's automatically saved. He's like, what are you even talking about? Like, he had no clue. Like, he was speaking a foreign language. So absolutely, there is a difference too. But something that I grew up with that I think my kids may not necessarily have is community. So there were teachers that taught at my school that also went to my church. There were teachers that taught my siblings, so knew me when I came in. There were teachers that went to school with my parents. And so if I acted up or whatever, they could just be like, oh, I know your mama. So I wish you would. I wish you would try to, because me, y'all already know it was me talking too much in class. That was always my thing, right? I was a great kid, but always running my mouth. They would call my mother because they knew them. Right. So they grew up. So I think that was like the biggest difference that I see between them. And we try to create a community. And I think they do, but it's completely different when you can go back and your teacher knows like your parents, your grandparents, their parents worked with your grandparents at the steel mill. It was a completely different experience than what they have. And for me, my experience was completely different from CT's. It was like the opposite of that, where he was involved in all these things. I wasn't involved in almost anything as far as like athletics. And that's my biggest regret too, because I'll always say like, I probably wouldn't have been the best, but I have heart. So I would have gave my all into it. But I didn't do that. But I was like in elementary school, I was in the talented and gifted program. And so I was a big reader. So I read all the time. I was involved in like the yearbook and you know, just all those things, and student council and all of those things like that. Somehow I landed in high school. I landed up in advanced physics. Have no idea how that even happened. And I did fairly decent too, especially when I tried. And when I wasn't sitting in the back of the class talking to one of my best friends who was really smart, him and I were back off. But when I really tried, I actually did really good. How did I end up in that class? I have no idea. So my experience, what? I wish you would put that work in front of me right now. I would be like, what in the world? So yeah, that's my experience when I think about school. My regret is that I didn't play sports. I wish I would have played sports because I think it teaches you so much. So I love that my girls had a chance to be involved in all of that.
That's cool. That's cool. I want to pull on the thing that you started off with that CT kind of talked about, that like identification of like the differences in ailments, right? You know, the needs of the students, and that, you know, you could have a classroom that there could be multiple different, you know, scenarios for these kids. And there's one teacher having to educate people who have 5 different diagnoses, right? Like that's
Yes.
and the fact that our social sciences have caught up to be able to identify these things, right? And to kind of try to tool teachers to be prepared for those students. Now, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give my educational experience, but I'm gonna give it from 2 perspectives. Because when I was in school, it was similar to where, like, yes, we had a lot of, I would call, we didn't have a lot of technology, but because I'm a Xena, whatever the generation is, we grew up with the technology, right? I was fortunate enough to watch technology grow from, like I said, those floppy disk all the way to CD drives and all those things. But my mind grew with the technology. And to the point to where when I was in high school, I built our computer lab. I worked for the Public Utility Commissions of Ohio as like my part-time job when I wasn't playing football. And, I played football. I did wrestling. I had a job. I had all this stuff going on. And I was learning engineering and networking and like software development and hardware development to the point to where like my goal was to go do hardware development. I didn't want to learn how to code where everybody else was doing. I'm like, no, what's more important is to know how to build it, right? If I can build your computer and you can program it, then that makes me more powerful because I can build the machine and you can make it work, right? So
wait. I got to interrupt you. I have to, because man, if that's not you today, that is who you are to this very day. Just thinking about, first of all, like the way you cook and creating these experiences. And we just talked about coming out to your home and you creating this experience with us or whatever. It's like, oh my, I don't know. I'm a little speechless here because I'm like, oh my gosh, you're still the same E that you were when you were young.
Yeah. I have not grown up as much as I have aged.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yes.
I love that.
But yeah, so like I had this opportunity to delve into technology as a side project in school because it was just there. Like to CT's point, access. Yeah. I challenged myself to be better than everybody perceived me to be.
Yeah.
And I still do that today, right? Because that's exactly what I've always struggled with. There's the perception of me, there's the real me, and then there's the thing that I do that people try to land somewhere to say, well, I do know him, or that I don't understand him, because it throws you off. So I utilize that my whole school career. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I've always been. Like, oh yeah, I was the goofball that built the computer lab, but then I was also the kid playing pranks. You know what I'm saying? Getting kicked out of class. I was me. And I didn't really have a problem with, I didn't have a problem with education and my teachers or anything like that. I was just easily bored. You know what I'm saying? I was one of those kids that would be like, all right, man, I already know what's going to happen at the end of this book. I didn't even got to read the rest of it. And they'd be like, really? You don't? And I'm like, yeah, I can. It's called foreshadowing. I know what the word foreshadowing means. And if you read through most of the book, it tells you what's going to happen. And they'd be like, oh, yeah. Oh, what was it? Old Yeller. I told him what that movie, how the book was going to end. Where the red fern grows. I ruined that for people.
You like I ruined Old Yeller for people.
Yes, I did. The Hatchet. Like I ruined all of those books for all of the kids in class.
Makes all the sense in the world. Makes all the sense.
I ruined them.
Yes. I mean, this is everything.
All the sense.
But it was because I, as a student, had, I was lucky enough to try to always acclimate to education, right? And I think that's one of my greatest strengths, right? Like I didn't have to go and learn in these traditional ways because exposing it to me made me interested enough to where I learned more about it than most people would up front.
Yeah, I get
and that's
that.
That would be enough.
I totally get that.
Yeah, it never pushed me into a place where it kind of like was like, you need to keep going. It was like, nah, I'm all right. I'm more proficient than most people. So we just keep going. But I say all that to say, like, I integrated technology into my education. So it became something that was synonymous with every move that I made as I moved up. And I think that's because my parents were into technology, right? My dad had a cell phone when most people didn't. He had a car. He had a car phone. He had the thing that would give you cancer. You know what I'm saying? Like he had all of the technology. So technology was just something that we were always good with. But when I look at what my experience was versus what my kids' experience were. Oh, heck no, man. Like, I had way more classes than they did. Their classes were way easier than mine. Like, I was helping them with their homework and in their math stuff. Like, it was like the way the teachers taught seemed to confuse the kids more than what the actual subject was. And it'd be like, oh yeah, we don't do the PETA mess or whatever. Like, we don't use that old system in math or anything anymore. You're like, so what system do you use? Well, we introduced this new thing, but the kids don't understand it. Like, how did you guys go and review this new process that you were going to implement to teach kids math and test it to know that that method worked against the old method? Like, we just kill it and give them a new thing. And the kids are trying to go home and ask their parents, how do you do this? How do you do that? And they're like, well, I don't know, because this doesn't make sense. I thought 1 + 1 = 2. It was like, well, 1.5 plus 0.5 equals 2. You're like, what happened to 1 + 1? Like, we don't even do 1 + 1 anymore. There's nothing that is just static for these kids to learn from versus what we had. We literally had like your A, B, C's. You practice cursive. You did these things and they became, you remember writing the same thing over and over again on a piece of paper because that's something they wanted you to practice. Absolutely. Like, they don't do these things anymore. So if I ask my son to write something, it'll show up in 5 different ways if he writes it 5 times. Right. There's no practice in it anymore. Like, we used to have to practice. That was a part of education.
Funny, yeah.
We don't practice anymore as a part of education. So I think that for me, that was one of the biggest differences from my experience growing up versus my kids' experience growing up. All right. Yeah. So I kind of want to play around with something because I know this is a segue episode. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to overdo it in this episode because I know we got a lot more into the next one. So I'm gonna ask this fun question and we're gonna play around with it. So there was one class that you hated in school and you acted up in. What was it? Because there had to be. We all went to school for at least 12 years. Some of y'all went to college. So there was one class that you had that you was like, I do not rock with this class. And every now and then you would show a little up in there. What class was that for you?
Johnny, there's bias in this question.
No, it's not.
There's bias in this question, Johnny, because you and I never did. And Eric is trying to project on us what it is that was his lived experience. And so
come on.
Listen, it's okay that you were disruptive in class.
You had no class you didn't like, not what you loved. Every single class you ever attended in every school every year.
So let me create clarity here. There may have been a class that I did not like or enjoy, but I did not, because of my upbringing, create disruption in the classroom. So I never got suspended. I was never kicked out of class. I was on time always, so I was the model student and child in the classroom.
That's what you get. That's what you get. You was over indexing over there, buddy. You might want to bring it back.
Too far.
So it is to be clear. I was so afraid of my mother, like whether she's listening or not. I literally could get in trouble at home, but it was very rare that I was going to show myself to be something other than what I was taught and trained outside of the classroom, or outside of the home, outside of my home. So, like y'all may have heard last season during Mother's Day, my mom may have said something about
hanging with the wrong people.
She said something like,
she said you hung with the wrong crowd. She said you was a bad kid.
Come on, E. Come on and remember. Come on. Love it.
My memory had frozen there, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you, E, for remembering. So it was the other people who I hung around, but I was sensitive to the idea that I did not like getting in trouble. I just didn't. And I distinctly remember there was a time where I had to decide I didn't want to get in trouble anymore. This is true.
Oh.
And then I did not. And a part of how I managed that was I was involved in literally
Oh, that's good.
everything. So it wasn't even so much that I didn't enjoy class or I didn't want to be disruptive in class. It was that, one, I didn't want to show my tail because then I was going to get in trouble at home, one. And then two, if I got in trouble in class, I couldn't do all of the stuff I actually enjoyed that was outside of that class. So all of the things that I did required for me to be in a position where I didn't disrupt so that the thing that I wanted to do wasn't disrupted. So if I got in trouble, I couldn't play basketball.
That
If
makes
I got
sense.
disrupted, I could, like, so it was that kind of thing. So while it's a bit tongue in cheek, I really did have like I got awards for like 100% attendance. Like I was in class, I was present. I wasn't always the best student because again, there were some things that I didn't always appreciate or understand while I was learning. But I was never the kid that you were gonna be like calling home and I was gonna get in trouble because I was doing something crazy. So that's this is true.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. We'll just make sure to call mom on the tape. Johnny.
Same thing. It's kind of
told you.
boring, and I know that E does not want to hear this.
You know what? That's all right. That's all right. You know, this is good thing this is recorded because mama gonna come and put something in the comments.
She'll tell you. The only thing, once again, which y'all will not be surprised about, which I just mentioned a few minutes ago, which my sister mentioned in last season. I just talk too much. It's like Johnny is a pleasure to have in class. She just talks a little too much. Like that was the only thing. And then I would just be over there like talking to a friend. I wasn't like super disrespectful. I didn't cause ruckus. Now that physics class kind of got me. Where me and so when we cut up the show, please give a shout out to my homeboy Deshaun Hilliard. Me and him was in physics together. Him and we would sit in the back and we would laugh the whole class. If we were together now, that's all we would do is talk and laugh. But even then, I don't think they had to like call home or anything. They would just call on Johnny. Johnny didn't know the answers. Deshaun was super smart, so he could not be paying attention and then just randomly answer the question. I'm like, dude, right, and I don't know it. That was it, E. I was a great student. I just like chatted a little too much.
Whatever. Okay. Whatever. These dudes. Perfect. You know, I had these moments where people would look at me. They would just look my way. But my parents had no concerns or issues ever with me. I was the perfect child while I attended all 12 years of school. And even as an adult, there's no way that I'm perfect. But while I was a kid, in adolescence, I had nothing that I didn't like, and I was perfect in code. All right, whatever.
There's plenty of things I didn't like. There's plenty of stuff I didn't like, but it wasn't.
You didn't act up.
No, I didn't. I just kind of sat there bored, like whatever.
Cool. Well,
I probably was sneaking and reading, like this is boring. Let me just read this book.
All right, that's cool. All right, so I had this English class. Okay, you know what I'm saying? I'm in high school. I had this advanced English class. I don't even know how they put me in. They kept, I think that they intentionally tried to make me fail because they kept putting me in advanced classes that I know I wasn't supposed to be in. This is how bad this is, guys. Like, I had played around in my freshman year, right? And I failed freshman math, right? It was like some entry-level math because I wouldn't even go to class. You know what I'm saying? This is a West Side school. They bust me because they used to send me far away from home. So I can act out because my parents ain't never coming out here. They work during the day. So they put, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they put me in this class and they challenged me on like all my math stuff. And I'm like, you know, I'm really good with math and I'm good with English. You know, I don't really feel like trying. I don't feel like, you know, there's a lot of effort that I need to give here because a lot of stuff ain't too hard. So they're like, we're going to make you retake this math class. I'm like, no, I'm good. Move me to the next math class. It's like, you can't take that math class without taking this math class. I'm like, yeah, you can. They're like, no, you can't. They're like, no, you got to take these other prerequisites before you take the higher math class. I'm like, nah. So how many classes do I need to pass to be done with school? And it was like, you need to at least advance to pre-calculus. I was like, put me in pre-calculus. It's like, seriously? I'm a junior. They're like, seriously? I'm like, yeah, put me in pre-calculus. So they put me in pre-calculus. You know what they thought was going to happen? They thought I was going to fail. So I'm sitting in pre-calculus, me and my cousin, because we both was real math nerds, and we playing around. We're like, oh, yeah, man, we having fun pre-calculus, hanging out with all the seniors. What up, girl? What up, girl? You taking the fun? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what he was in there doing. Man, that's what he was in there doing. And then the math teacher was the wrestling coach. And, like, of course, I did wrestling off season, and he was like, oh, I got the clown boys in here. You ain't about to make it. I can't wait to give you a big old F. And I looked at him, I was like, F. Challenge accepted. You already know that I messed around in that first semester just so I could show him, like, yeah, I ain't gonna take it serious. And I got a C. He was like, see, I can tell you're not going to make it. I was like, oh, this right here is just for the comeback. He's like, huh? Top of the class. We finished top of the class. The seniors hated us. And I got on that teacher's nerve. And I also got on the advanced English teacher's nerves who kept trying to make fun of the way that I would call out certain enunciation. I was like, can't we all say it that way? I mean, potato, right? You know what I'm saying? We'd be in there playing around or whatever. So she calls my dad into the school to try to get me in trouble. And I sat in the back of the class by the door because I'd be the first one into class, get all my work done, and be the first one out all the time. But it got on her nerves because I would just be gone. She'd look up and be like, where'd Eric go? And my homework would be sitting on the desk, done, and I'd be gone. So she calls my dad in. So she thinks she's about to sneak me. So she calls my dad, and my dad comes in. He got his big cowboy hat on and everything. And I know he don't know how to read, so I ain't worried about him at all. So he sits next to me. He sits next to me, and I look up at her, and I was like, you did this? You called him in here? He was like, yeah, she told me I need to come in here and watch how you behave. I was like, okay. So sit there and watch me behave. I was like, you know you done messed up, right? She's like, huh? I was like, all right, just watch. Go ahead and teach. She was teaching. My dad falls asleep. I take the book and I slam it on the desk. Bam! I was like, Dad, go home. He's, hey, you watch it in here. You have a good one. And he leaves. I'm standing there. Yeah, my dad just leaves, right? Because he wasn't supposed to be the parent you call. He's supposed to call my mom. So looking up, and I'm like, okay. So for the rest of this school year, if you call my parents, what it's going to be like, right? So let's go ahead and get these assignments out the way so I can get on with the rest of my year. She was like, yes, sir. And that was it. She gave me all my assignments. I did all my assignments early, and I didn't go back to her class until like 2 months later. Yeah, because she knew I was doing all the work. I didn't want to sit in them classrooms, man. But my whole life has been finding unconventional ways to do conventional things.
This is very true.
Johnny, this is really insightful.
Isn't it?
Like this almost feels like if we want to be able to explain the relational dynamic of Eric's, like, come
on.
If why and or how Eric functions in relationship, this story gives insight. I feel like this is we might be able to mess with this as we go through this season from a generational perspective, because that's what we're talking about now, like generational relationships, and the relationship that Eric had with his teacher relative to the relationship he had with his father, and then the subsequent relationship that his father had with his teacher. That like there's insight here that we might be able to pull the thread on as we go through this particular season, Johnny. We'll get into it in this particular conversation, but as the season goes, nationers, I do think you should be listening to that, especially when we get into things when he says, about my personal life, and he starts talking about his relationships in, out, up, down, on, and or off. We might actually find that there's a thread that we can go all the way back to that class that gives us this is why he is acting the way that he is acting in this way. Thank you for sharing that story. I really appreciate the insight that we hadn't had. We're 3 seasons in, and we're just now learning what the truth of it is. Okay, thank you.
I had to take note in my handy dandy notebook, make sure I date it, so we can come back to this. We can come back to this conversation.
Thank you, Dora. Thank you.
I'm really happy that y'all, got all that out, because that's what this was for. It was for us to kind of set the stage about our experiences in school. So I'm glad that y'all had none. So I'm just gonna go ahead and ask.
We were just good students.
whatever. I just gonna go ahead and ask, what would Grandma do? Since I know she must have had to get on you a few times when you was in school.
I'm trying to decide who's Grandma speaking to, because Grandma could say something to the Johnnies and Chris CTs of the world, or Johnny could say something to the E's of the world. Wait for it.
Let's see. What Grandma want to say?
Wait for
What you want to talk to? What you want to talk to?
Season 2. Grandma would like, come here, baby. This season, Grandma's like, listen up. And so, in the spirit of what Grandma might say in this moment, because our show is called School Daze, Grandma would say, let's talk about the days. DAZE. So listen up. So and Johnny, just relax for a second, because this isn't for you. For those of you who are in the spirit of E, it is this idea that the D in Daze is don't delight in your own experience. Recognize that there is something that others are experiencing from you that may not be a delight for them. That's the D. So the days that you go through, don't delight in your own self, delight in understanding that somebody is having an experience with you that may or may not be the best. And that delight might, in the A, show up in this idea that the approach that you had might create some confusion for people like your father, not the teacher, because the teacher clearly, based upon your story, said she had to comply with what it is that you wanted, because your approach was such that made it okay for her, but it didn't make for a delight for her. And because she did not delight in it because of the approach that you had, it was as a byproduct of your zeal. That's your Z. The zeal that you put into the conversation, the energy that showed up in that moment, that zeal, really did reflect the delight that you had because of the approach. Now, here is the energy I want you to come, that's your E, with, as you think about two things having to be true. That some energy that is zeal based because of the approach, maybe, just maybe, the story that you heard from Johnny or CT might be the energy that you need to have. Or there is the energy that you heard from E. That could be our E, but energy is our E. The energy that you bring must ensure that as you are generationally moving through the conversation with your children, with your whomever you might be talking to, Grandma might say, listen up. Don't delight in your own story, because your approach brought the kind of zeal that moved in energy in a way that allowed the people who you are working with to know that they were in it with you. So remember, be in it with them, not to them. Thank you, Grandma.
Thank you, Grandma. All right. Okay. Grandma has some insights on some things. Look like she was talking to people. Looks like she was talking to people. I don't know who. I took my glasses off so I couldn't see the word.
I love that. You know, it can apply to anybody, though. It can apply to anyone.
Yes.
No, I agree. Right? I mean, while Grandma definitely hit on some notes, I mean, Johnny, what you got?
Yes, come on, sound effects. I love it. I feel like I don't use the word zeal enough. Like that was good. That was good, CT. I got to give it to you on this one. But as we're talking about school days and just getting prepared for this episode, I even mentioned it. Like, one of my regrets in life is like not participating in sports. And sometimes you get into these conversations with people where they say like you shouldn't have regrets and you should move forward, which is fine. But for me, I think regret is just an opportunity to look back and reflect on maybe things that could have gone differently and ways that you can improve in the future. Right. I was a super shy kid. I've always struggled with my weight. Had I played sports, that would have probably taken care of two of those things that early on in my life. So just as we're reflecting on the past, I just want to encourage people, I guess, it's okay to look back and think, I wish I would have done things a little bit differently. And
Mm.
how, if I've done that differently, what can I do to improve in the future and move forward? So I know it's a little off topic, but when we talk about school days and reflecting on the past, that kind of got had me thinking a little bit, just that it's okay to have some regrets, because it just means that you have grown, you've matured, and just some things that you may want to do differently. And it's okay to look forward to the future and from learning from the past.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I definitely think recognizing yourself and the choices that you've made, that necessarily they don't equal like regrets in the sense of like I feel bad, as much as it's like I recognize that I could have been different if I would have done X, right? I could have branched off different. Not saying like I don't want to stay firm to the decision I made, as much as it goes like I know that was a fork in the road, and here's where I am because I chose left versus right. I think that's a beautiful way of looking at it, because we end up where we are because of the choices that we made, right? We are just the sum of our experiences, and it was probably meant for you not to have those experiences. That way there was no negativity behind it for when your kids went to go do it. That's because true. There could have been the whole thing like I experienced it and I went through this and I don't think this is a good life for you, right? So I think that's great perspective to have. Okay. So for me, from your AOC, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in and just again be honest and say, like, you don't have to be liked to learn. You don't have to be liked to learn, right? Because some of the things that we learn from the people that don't like us. And some of those lessons are the best lessons we'll ever have in life. While I did give my teachers a hard time, and I can openly admit that, my mother knows it too, I had the privilege of meeting some of those teachers later on in life, and they remember me very vividly. And some of them, like I got to attend some of my teachers' funerals and see some of their past principals and stuff. And they have seen me and they say, Eric, we always knew how great of a person you were, right? You were just this really animated, silly, comical kid that wanted to always not have to deal with how serious the world was around you, right? And everybody tried to force you to be serious. And the more we tried to force you to be serious, the more you would be like, no, and do things that would annoy people, frustrate them, or whatever. But at the end of the day, that was something that I had to be okay with. I had to be okay with the fact that I didn't need my teachers to like me to learn from. I didn't need the other students to like me to learn from their experiences, right? Like, you don't have to be liked to learn stuff, right? And I think there is this misnomer where people are just like, you have to always be in the womb of something to learn something, right? We'll talk about this in the future, but like the School of Hard Knocks is a real thing, right?
Yeah, it is.
Like life be lifing. In the School of Hard Knocks, they got classes for you know what I'm saying? And it's never going to be, there's never a day off, and the bell's always ringing in the School of Hard Knocks. So I get that. Good. The world is not always going to be pretty, and everything is not going to be set up perfect, and there's going to be struggles in life, but you don't got to be liked to learn. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to learn to like learning, and that is on you. You know what I'm saying? So whatever it is in life, whatever it is you choose to learn, you got to learn to like that thing and like learning about it, but it doesn't need to be about you being liked specifically. Because whether you like Scotch with E, I still want you to go learn to like cooking, right? So it's not about me as much as about my love of learning that I don't mind to pass on. So that, I'm gonna get off.
Can we just like that? I know. I said right. I love that, and the thing that you must learn to like is you.
Yeah.
Right. And when you learn to like you, then the things that you do become more likable for you.
Yeah.
Right? And then you learn to like them more.
Yeah.
Because it is much more authentic to who you are and not to what you're expecting somebody else to think you should be or can be or will be, right? Now it's just you being the very best version of you. And anytime you get to be the best version of you, there's something in you that's going to make you, whether or not you like you in that moment or not. Like there's something real about that thread that you're pulling there, which I think is really, really healthy. And we as motivation, right? If we didn't like each other, no. If we didn't like ourselves, coming into this space, it could be uncomfortable in moments where I don't need you to like me, Johnny. I don't need you to like me. I like that you like me, but the fact that I like me, right? It just brings out something different in your ability to maneuver through the world. So that was goody.
Yeah,
that was really good. I have something to add on there too.
Go for it.
It was just, yeah, that really resonated with me because I've had a couple conversations, just so happens, like in the past 2 weeks, of people who went to get their higher degrees. Like one person had a PhD, another person completed their bachelor's, and both of them had stories of not sharing their accomplishments with other people. One person was saying that it was because they felt insecure because they felt like it was something they should have already done. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, and this is a very confident person who motivates people all the time that we all know as well.
Yeah.
That motivates people all the time. And I'm like, girl, are you crazy? Like, you did something for you and you should be very proud of you. It's not about the degree. It's about that you made a commitment to better yourself for you. And this is something you wanted to do, right? So it's not even about going back to school. It's a decision you made for yourself. That should be celebrated. That's what the great thing is. And the other person who got their when they finally decided to get their PhD, they didn't tell a soul. Because everyone was like, what do you need to go back to school for? You don't even need it for the job that you have. Why are you doing this? Right? And he made the decision like, you know what? I'm not going to tell anybody because I don't want to hear all the negativity. Those two things made me think about what you're saying, E, just about, and UCT, about you don't need anybody to like what you're doing, to like you. It's about what you love about yourself and you having that own self-confidence in you and the accomplishments that you have, Yeah. So I don't know. I love the traditional aspect of education. I actually like school. I'm looking forward to when my kids graduate so I can go back to school to get a PhD. That's just who I am. But you are absolutely right. That school of hard knocks. Like I've had conversations with people like, girl, you and your little books, listen, let me tell you the real about what's happening. Right? So I think that, yeah. So it's just about that confidence that you have in yourself.
That's good.
That's awesome. Yeah, man, this has been such a wonderful conversation, and it's really the first one, right? It's really, this is how we started off. You know what I'm saying? We're being transparent. We're telling our truths. We're holding each other accountable, and not drilling down where we need to. You know what I mean? So I'm so excited for part 2 of this conversation, because once we bring in my main man, you know what I'm saying? I always imagine this gentleman's life is beautiful, like he gets to lay on the couch and have shrimp thrown at him. That's what I keep imagining. The only thing I think of, like, this is the best job in the world. The man goes out, changes the world, comes home, lays down, his woman goes, here's the shrimps, and he just thanks and be watching this show. There you go. Thanks, babe. Hey, I need them tiger joints over there. Okay, nah, skip that. Bring them prawns. We going in today. So that's what we'll see next week. So I want to come to you, Johnny. You got any final thoughts? Anything we want to leave the folks with today?
Oh man, no, I think this is a good conversation. I just enjoy being back with y'all, chatting about our experiences, looking forward to season 3, and yeah, that's my final thoughts. Cheers to season 3.
Cheers to season 3.
Cheers to season 3.
CT, you got anything for the folks?
No.
Where's Yoda?
No, it's all right.
Yoda, he good.
It's okay.
As we go through season 3, there will be no try. There's only do.
There's only do.
I agree. I love it. So my final thoughts is thank you guys for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share. If you're listening on any of the streaming sites like Apple Podcasts or iTunes or Spotify, please go ahead and like and hit those stars. You know, we want to get into the algorithm as well. If there's something that you're learning here or you want to leave something with us, please comment. You know, you can inbox us. We're on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all the things. We thought about making a Pinterest, but we ain't start cooking yet. Catch us in November. So I'm just saying, we are here for you. We are back. Season 3 is already like we're about to get some work in, y'all. I already feel good. So with that said, you already know what it is. You can just chill until the next episode. So peace, guys. See you.
Peace.